A few days after the wedding ceremony, the girl Robert Roberts was seeing on the side threw the ultrasound report in my face. She said Robert Roberts had found her the best hospital to stay in while pregnant, costing tens of thousands of dollars a month. A large diamond flashed in front of my eyes. Sarah, the one Rob gave you isn't as big as this one, is it? You can tell how much a man cares about you through many small details. He doesn't like you at all. If you weren't still useful to him, he wouldn't have married you. I was so lucky that the heavy storm prevented Robert Roberts and me from signing the papers. Robert Roberts pleaded with me to forgive him. At the same time, David Chen, my first love, was back. David Chen's eyes were red-rimmed, and he said he still loved me. Robert Roberts put the wedding ring on my finger. We kissed to the cheers of our friends and family. Someone in the audience dropped and broke a wine glass. When I looked over, only a retreating back remained. My heart skipped a beat. That back looked very much like David Chen, my ex-boyfriend who broke up with me out of the blue. For the rest of the wedding, I was distracted, my mind filled with that image. David Chen and I were together for 5 years, completely devoted to each other. I always thought he would be the one to put the wedding ring on my finger. Even now, I still couldn't understand why David Chen, who loved me so much, would suddenly break up with me. That night, Robert Roberts slept soundly beside me, but I remained wide awake. I used Robert Roberts's phone to message the wedding photographer, asking him to send the video he took today. I wanted to confirm if that person was indeed David Chen. The photographer said the video file was too large and it would take a while to receive. While waiting, someone with the username Chérie kept sending messages. Rob, I miss you. Why aren't you answering my calls? This morning, I really didn't want you to leave. You marrying her. I was so jealous I felt like I was going crazy. Will we still be like before? Can you come see me tomorrow? I have a surprise for you. Reading each line. It never felt the autumn in Riverwood so cold. I was about to scroll up through the message history. Robert Roberts rubbed his sleepy eyes, took the phone from my hand, glanced at it, and said casually, just a friend's younger sister. She's young and grew up without a father, so she easily develops crushes on older men. Don't take anything she says seriously. He put his arm around my waist. Go to sleep, wife. You must be tired today. Robert Roberts brushed off the ambiguous messages lightly, but it reminded me of something. Robert Roberts used to hate grapefruit, saying it was too bitter. About half a year ago, he started acting differently, buying grapefruit every time he passed a fruit stand. Maybe the bitter grapefruit tasted sweet when he thought of that person's name. During the years I was with Robert Roberts, he told me everything. Even voluntarily let me check his phone, saying he wanted to give me 100% sense of security. Just now, when he saw me holding his phone, his sleepiness instantly vanished. I caught a hint of panic in his expression, and it made me feel uneasy. Who was this Chérie? Who could make the usually composed Robert Roberts lose his composure? The next morning, Robert Roberts voluntarily handed me his phone. All the videos you wanted have been sent. He walked behind me and gently massaged my shoulders. I've already deleted her. I didn't delete her before because of her brother, but I worried you might overthink it, so it's better to delete her. Robert Roberts's gaze lingered in the mirror, observing my reaction. Maybe it was a woman's intuition, but the more he tried to appear open, the more suspicious he seemed, like he was trying to hide something. I watched the videos one by one. The person who had smashed the glass and left yesterday was indeed my ex-boyfriend, David Chen. How did he get in without an invitation? He had given me the silent treatment out of nowhere back then, and even broke up with me online. Surely, he wasn't here because he still had feelings for me and just wanted to have a self-pitying moment at the wedding? Robert Roberts's voice pulled my thoughts back. And Martha has breakfast ready. How about we go sign the papers after we eat? We had originally planned to sign the papers the day before yesterday, but it had been raining heavily, so we didn't go. Maybe it was a sign from above, telling me to carefully consider entering this marriage. I took Robert Roberts's hand. I don't think I can today. The hospital admitted several critical patients, and we're short-staffed. I need to go back for surgery. Robert Roberts frowned slightly. Who goes to work the day after their wedding? Robert Roberts had suggested more than once that I quit my job and he would support me. His family was wealthy. The generous gift his mother gave me alone was enough for me to be financially secure for years. But I didn't want to give up my dream. I wanted to be an excellent doctor like my mother. I smiled and reassured him. I promise. I'll take a vacation after things settle down. We can go on a honeymoon. Robert Roberts was still a little unhappy. He didn't eat breakfast and left in a hurry with his coat. At the hospital, The workspace across from mine, which had been vacant for a long time, had stuff on it. The photo frame looked especially familiar. Wasn't it the one David Chen and I had together when we were dating? Did he sell the photo frame at a secondhand market? Sarah. Dr. Anderson knocked on the door. I looked up, and my gaze met the man standing behind her. David Chen's face and physique were hard to ignore anywhere he went. Compared to back then, he was even more captivating now. Wearing a clean white coat, his eyes behind gold-rimmed glasses were calm and steady, his face cool and detached. The hospital's title of Ice Prince would probably change hands soon. Dr. Anderson walked over. Sarah, David just joined. Can you show him around and help him get acquainted? Dr. Anderson especially loved to play matchmaker and had already tried to set up everyone single in the department. I hadn't revealed my relationship status, so she probably assumed I was still single after Dr. Anderson left. I placed a hospital map on David Chen's desk. David Chen's long fingers lightly tapped the booklet twice. Is Dr. Sarah always this cold to new colleagues? I wondered who was the one who gave the silent treatment back then. I lowered my head to organize patient charts. I'm busy. I have several surgeries this afternoon. I glanced at the young nurses whispering behind the door crack. If you really need someone to show you around, ask them. After finishing surgery, it was past 10 o'clock at night. I went to the convenience store and bought a hot dog to eat. A shadow fell over the table. David Chen looked at my food. Just eating this? His gaze shifted to my bare finger. I decided not to eat anymore. David Chen, what exactly do you want? Appearing at my wedding and now becoming my colleague, I didn't believe this was a coincidence. Someone tapped the glass window. Interrupting David Chen, Robert Roberts stood outside the window, holding a takeaway container. I signaled Robert Roberts with my eyes to wait for me. I was waiting for David Chen's explanation. He suddenly smiled. I don't want anything. Your husband is waiting for you. I won't keep you any longer, just like 3 years ago. He left without giving me any explanation. I grabbed my bag and left. Jerk. Just as I was about to ask Robert Roberts why he unusually brought me food, he hid the takeaway container behind his back. His expression was unnatural. It's cold. Let's eat out. I took the takeaway container from him. It's okay. I'm really hungry right now. The weather, seeing that more than half of the meal was gone, I froze. It wasn't meant for me. A friend of mine is hospitalized at your hospital. I came to visit. What kind of friend was worth this much effort from him? Robert Roberts had never been very fond of my job and had hardly ever visited me at the hospital. He casually changed the subject. Was that your colleague sitting next to you just now? I replied in a joking tone. What else? You think he's my lover? Robert Roberts's facial muscles stiffened. He put his arm around my shoulder. All right, wife, you're hungry, right? Let's go eat something first. That night, Robert Roberts was gone for quite a while. I quietly got out of bed and followed him out. The living room was dimly lit. Robert Roberts was on the phone. He was rubbing his temples, talking to the person on the other end in a coaxing tone. Baby, will you listen to me this time? Good girl. There are plenty of hospitals better than downtown hospital. I'll find you the best private hospital. You know, my wife. Okay. I won't call her wife. It's inevitable to run into SAR at the same hospital. Now isn't the right time. Better to avoid unnecessary trouble. I had been cautiously testing the waters of our relationship. But now that I confirmed his heart had changed, even though I was prepared, it still hurt terribly. I struggled to steady my trembling body and returned to the bedroom. On the nightstand, Robert Roberts's phone lay silently. So that's why he used to voluntarily give me his phone to check he had another one. Faithful could be faked. A few days later, I was seeing patients in the clinic when a young girl aggressively threw a report in front of me. It was an ultrasound report. The name section read Chelsea Miller, 20 years old, very young, dressed in an expensive Chanel suit and carrying an LV bag, every gesture full of arrogance. So you're Sarah Miller? I looked you up online. Heavily filtered, I guess. You don't look as good as your photos in person. She scanned me up and down, finding a sense of superiority in my slightly worn white coat. Her eyes filled with disdain. She said Robert Roberts had found her the best hospital to stay in while pregnant, costing tens of thousands of dollars a month. A large diamond flashed in front of my eyes. Sarah, the one Rob gave you isn't as big as this one, is it? You can tell how much a man cares about you through many small details. He doesn't like you at all. If you weren't still useful to him, he wouldn't have married you. My hand tightened on the mouse. My professional training told me this was not the place for a catfight. Chelsea Miller just wanted to provoke me, and I wouldn't give her the satisfaction. Mum, please don't claim relationships that aren't there. If you're feeling unwell, you can register for an appointment. There are other patients waiting. Please step outside. Chelsea Miller was like lighting a dead firework, finding herself ignored. She sneered a few more times, and seeing that I wasn't reacting, she put her hands on her hips and left huffily. At noon, I went back to the office to rest and heard my name at the door. Really? Sarah Miller got married? That's not the point. The point is, her husband's mistress showed up pregnant. For a woman who's always cold-faced and only knows how to work, it's no wonder her husband cheated. She deserves it. As I pushed the door open, David Chen slammed a book down hard on the desk. Watch what you say. Do yourselves a favor. You say she's cold-faced? That's because people like you don't deserve a smile. The people gossiping about me instantly fell silent, looking even guiltier when they saw me enter. There are gossips everywhere, but seeing David Chen angry reminded me of back in college. He was my mother's student. Someone said I used that connection to force him to be with me, David Chen, and I happened to hear those words. He went up and grabbed the guy by the collar, scaring him into profusely apologizing. David Chen was my first love, the first person I ever liked, who once occupied all my joy and sorrow. That passionate first love ended miserably. It took me a long time to accept the fact that he left me. I went back to my workspace to write patient charts. David Chen pushed a note across. The note read, "Are you mad?" I threw the note in the trash can. Childish. As I said those two words, even I was surprised. Back when David Chen and I studied in the library, I always loved to pass him notes and disturb him. He would always call me childish. Yet he couldn't help but smile. The phone rang, interrupting my memory. Robert Roberts's cheerful voice came through the phone. "Wife, I'm downstairs from your office. Let's go sign the papers during your lunch break. I have all the documents ready. You just need to come down." Robert Roberts leaned over to help me with my seatbelt. I pushed him away. The joy on his face hadn't faded. "What's wrong, wife?" He didn't know that while he waited for me with such happiness in those few minutes, I was crying hysterically in the hallway. I might be serious at work, but I'm still a human being with feelings. The two men who had hurt me, one became my colleague as if nothing had happened, and the other was happily asking me to go sign the papers. I couldn't understand why my happiness always came to such an abrupt end. I threw Chelsea Miller's ultrasound report at Robert Roberts, trying to have his cake and eat it too. "Robert Roberts, have you no shame?" Robert Roberts's knuckles holding the ultrasound report turned white. He glanced at it and threw it aside. "Wife, you know our family is one of the prominent families in Riverwood. It's inevitable for some girls to try to latch onto him looking for shortcuts." I felt like laughing. "Don't call me wife. Don't pretend you're innocent." I heard everything that night. Seeing he couldn't keep up the pretense, Robert Roberts started to play the sympathy card, slapping himself across the face. "I'm sorry, I made a mistake. It was just a moment of madness. I drank a bit too much that night. Every day since, I've regretted it." She kept harassing me and threatening me. If I didn't do what she wanted, she would come make a scene in front of you. "I truly can't lose you." So I felt like I was at her mercy. Men's words are stubborn until the very end. Robert Roberts reached for my hand, his eyes red. "Sar, I'll handle all of this. Can you forgive me just this once? Let's go sign the papers and get back on track." "Are you saying you want me to marry you while you have a child on the way with another woman?" I said I'll handle it. I opened the car door. "I won't marry you. We're over." Robert Roberts grabbed me, closing the door before I could get out. "Sarah Miller, our relationship is this fragile. Just because of a little hiccup, you won't marry me?" I pushed him away. "Why is it your mistake? But I'm the one being tested. I'm so glad we didn't sign the papers." Robert Roberts leaned back against the seat, a cold laugh escaping his throat. "Sarah Miller, is this how ungrateful you are? If it weren't for me, would you even be here, throwing a tantrum at me?" Robert Roberts did save my life, 3 years ago. I was drowning in the pain of the breakup and my mother's passing, unable to cope. After a night of heavy drinking, I bought a plane ticket, wanting to travel and clear my head. I fell ill just a few days after going overseas. At that time, Robert Roberts and I were arguing over who got the last souvenir at a small stall. My vision went black, and I collapsed in front of Robert Roberts. When I woke up, Robert Roberts was sitting by the hospital bed, his eyes full of regret and self-blame. "I'm so sorry. I just wanted to strike up a conversation with you. I didn't expect." The doctor came over with the test results. Robert Roberts was more nervous than I was. standing up to look at the report. His expression gradually turned serious, hesitating whether to give me the report. I'm a doctor myself, so I quickly spotted the key information among the words, malignant tumor. I couldn't afford the high treatment costs at the hospital overseas, so I planned to return home for treatment. Robert Roberts said he had looked into it, and my illness would be better treated overseas. He insisted I stay, busying himself contacting doctors for me. Robert Roberts was like my lifeline, staying by my side from the surgery to hospitalization and my recovery and discharge. I asked him why he was so kind to someone he had just met. He said, because it was love at first sight. Don't call me cheesy, but I think love at first sight is a romantic phrase. I gave him my bank card. This is all my savings. I'll pay you back the rest when I earn it. Robert Roberts held the card between two fingers and handed it back to me. There's another phrase, one-sided or unrequited. You didn't ask me to pay for your treatment. I did it willingly, so you don't owe me anything. But having said that, while there's no financial debt, there's a debt of gratitude. He said he would graduate in half a year and was too lonely being in a foreign land alone. He asked me to wait for him for half a year, considering it repaying the favor. Grateful for Robert Roberts's kindness and moved by his persistent pursuit, we started dating half a year after I returned home. 3 years ago, he said I didn't owe him. 3 years later, he called me ungrateful. Chelsea Miller said Robert Roberts married me because I was useful to him. Maybe from the start, he didn't really love me that much. But I honestly couldn't think of any way I could be useful to Robert Roberts. I wasn't feeling well, so I asked Dr. Anderson for half a day off, not wanting to see Robert Roberts. I didn't go home but went to a convenience store to sit for a while. Robert Roberts sent me many messages. I didn't read any of them and blocked him. I leaned on the table. Tears soaked my sleeve. Dr. Sarah? A young voice sounded beside me. It was the little girl I had done surgery on. She tugged at my sleeve and gave me a milk candy. Sarah, are you okay? Don't be sad. Eating candy will make you happy. This was how I used to coax her into not being afraid of taking medicine. I couldn't refuse her kindness. I unwrapped the candy and put it in my mouth. The candy was sweet, but my heart remained bitter. A few minutes later, someone else tugged at my sleeve. I thought it was the same girl, but when I looked up, I saw David Chen holding a can of milk candies. The trick of using milk candy to coax children to take medicine was something I learned from him. We sat in silence, neither of us speaking first, frankly. David Chen understood me better than Robert Roberts. When I'm sad, I don't want someone giving me lectures. I just need someone to quietly sit beside me. Robert Roberts, on the other hand, liked to give long speeches. When I told him I needed quiet, he started analyzing how my self-isolating personality was unhealthy. It was strange. They were both people I disliked, yet I was still comparing them in my head. Sarah Miller, you won't sign the papers with me because you're seeing someone else, aren't you? Robert Roberts appeared out of nowhere, stormed into the convenience store, and hit David Chen hard with a punch. You, Sarah Miller, are the one pretending to be innocent, getting together with other men and then coming to demand an explanation from me. Robert Roberts grabbed the can of milk candies. David Chen instinctively shielded me. The can and candies all scattered on David Chen. Sir, please calm down. Sarah Miller and I are just colleagues. More and more onlookers gathered, whispering and gossiping about the relationship between the three of us. The little girl who gave me candy and her mother also came over. As people pointed and whispered about me, they told them that Dr. Sarah was a good person and wouldn't behave improperly. Robert Roberts still wanted to fight, but the security guards arrived. He had to give up and left stony-faced. David Chen had a swollen eye and a small cut on his forehead. Regardless of our past issues, I got him involved today. I'll go get disinfectant. Wait for me, Sarah Miller. David Chen called out to me and checked his watch. I'll handle it myself later. You go back first. I have something to tell you. What David Chen wanted to say ultimately went unsaid. He got a call and rushed back to perform surgery on a patient. For the next 2 weeks, he was on a study exchange out of town with Dr. Anderson. I was busy selling the house and didn't look further into what he wanted to tell me. I calculated that my treatment cost over $1,000,000 back then. If I sold the house I bought last year, plus the money I had on hand, I could roughly pay off the debt owed to Robert Roberts. Paying off the debt and moving out was the purpose of returning home. Every piece of furniture, every part of the layout in this home, Robert Roberts and I chose together. I still remember when we moved in. We leaned against each other, imagining the future together. We would continue to love each other here, get married, have children, and be happy forever. The flowers in the vase were still the bouquet from when I left, now withered. Robert slumped on the sofa looking dejected. The table scattered with cigarette butts. I don't want your money. He looked utterly lost. That day, I spoke carelessly. I said something harsh. When I saw you with that man and you said you were breaking up with me, I was going crazy with sadness. I just lost control for a moment. He came and hugged me, as if trying to hold on to me with all his strength. I'm sorry, Sar. I really like you. These past few days without you, I feel drained of spirit, like the walking dead. I've been looking at my phone, hoping you'd reach out. I keep hallucinating hearing you enter the keypad code at the door. I wish you would appear in front of me the next second, for the sake of how good we were before. Can you forgive me just this once? Seeing him so dejected, having lost weight, my heart ached. I had loved him, and my instinct to care for him hadn't completely vanished. But I would absolutely not forgive a man who cheated. Once a cheater, always a cheater. I wouldn't repeat my mother's mistake. She forgave my cheating father time and time again. And that man even let his mistress move in while she was sick. Robert Roberts, from the moment you cheated, there's no possibility for us anymore. I pulled away from his embrace and placed the bank card on the table. I pulled my luggage to the door. Robert Roberts chased after me and knelt behind me. Sar, I truly know I was wrong. You're still in a fit of anger right now. I'll wait for you to think it over. As long as you can forgive me, I'll do anything. I didn't turn back to look at him and left through the door. The ride I ordered was canceled last minute, and it started pouring rain again. I had to take shelter at the bus stop. A taxi stopped at the bus stop. The car window rolled down, and Dr. Anderson waved at me. Sarah, are you waiting for a ride? Get in quickly. The person beside Dr. Anderson was David Chen. He looked at my wet hair and clothes, his eyes practically overflowing with concern. David Chen got out from the other side and helped me put my 2 suitcases in the trunk. Another hospital colleague was already in the front seat, so Dr. Anderson, David Chen, and I sat in the back, afraid of crowding Dr. Anderson. I leaned a little closer to David Chen. Dr. Anderson used a tissue to wipe my hair. Drink some ginger tea when you get back. If you feel unwell, remember to ask for time off. Don't push yourself. Then she said to David Chen, Mark and I still need to go to Mercy Hospital for a meeting. You're not on call tonight, are you? Could you drop Sarah off? It's heavy for a young girl to carry 2 large suitcases. Okay? David Chen agreed quickly. Robert Roberts's place was only a few minutes from Mercy Hospital. Dr. Anderson and Mark got out, and the seat was less crowded. I realized I had been leaning too close. The rainwater from my clothes had wet David Chen's sleeve. Sorry, it's fine. Another long silence followed. I spoke first. I'm almost there. I can go the rest of the way myself. You don't need to bother. David Chen didn't reply. When we got out of the car, he followed me, holding an umbrella in one hand and carrying my luggage in the other. He said, Dr. Anderson told me to take you back. I can't disobey her instructions. When we reached the building downstairs, half of David Chen's shoulder was soaked. Rainwater plastered his hair to his forehead. Amid the fierce wind and rain, the strong wind broke the umbrella right before he closed it. Why don't you come up and sit for a while? Wait for the rain to stop before you leave. He helped me with my things, so I couldn't just let him leave in this terrible weather. My new place hadn't been cleaned yet. It was a mess, covered in dust. Let alone sitting. I didn't even know where to stand while I was changing clothes. David Chen swept the living room clean and boiled a pot of hot water on the stove in the kitchen. David Chen glanced at me and immediately looked away. I realized I was only wearing a slip and nothing underneath. My luggage was a mess, and my underwear was buried at the bottom. I was used to wearing slips like this at home and had forgotten for a moment. Even though we knew each other's bodies well, time has passed, and our current relationship still required politeness and distance. As I was about to go to the bedroom to change, I slipped on the wet floor and fell forward. David Chen immediately came to catch me, and I landed steadily in his arms. Through the thin slip in his wet shirt, I could clearly feel his rising body temperature. My ears instantly turned red, and I sprang away from David Chen's embrace. Whether it was because I was flustered or the floor was really too slippery, I didn't regain my balance. I slipped again, falling harder, and dragged David Chen down onto the sofa behind us. Any pretense of politeness and distance vanished at that moment. David Chen moved over slightly, His voice hoarse. Got a towel? Huh? I hadn't fully recovered, and the thought of whether he wanted to stay overnight had actually crossed my mind. David Chen got up. I want to wipe the floor. We both saw the lipstick mark left on his shoulder at the same time, and then both looked away. You stay put. I'll check the bathroom. The heavy storm beat against the windows, and the sound of boiling water came from the kitchen. David Chen poured 2 cups of hot water, then went to wipe the floor. The weather forecast said this storm would last until dawn. I found the hairdryer and told David Chen to dry his clothes first. That night, I slept in the bedroom, and David Chen slept on the sofa. When I woke up the next day, he was already gone. The entire place was clean, spotless. Basic necessities were all bought, and there were even a few potted plants on the patio. During my first year of residency, work was very tiring and stressful, and the dorm conditions were terrible. David Chen was also very busy, but he took time to help me find an apartment near the hospital. After working all day, he hardly rested, cleaning the apartment thoroughly so I could move in comfortably. Before he broke up with me out of the blue, David Chen was definitely the perfect boyfriend. So much so that for 3 whole years, I couldn't bring myself to accept that David Chen, who loved me so much, suddenly didn't want me anymore. I finished a 7-hour surgery and dragged my exhausted body home, seeing Robert Roberts waiting at the door with a bouquet. My body, which had just relaxed, tensed up again. These past few days, he had been calling me from different numbers. As soon as I heard it was him, I hung up immediately. With Robert Roberts's family background, it was easy for him to find out where I lived. Sir, he said with a fawning smile, don't hide from me anymore. Getting closer, I could see clearly that the bouquet he was holding was made of red money roses. Robert Roberts, please don't do this. Ignoring the flowers he offered, I took out my key and opened the door. Robert Roberts didn't give up, shoving the bouquet into my arms. Sir, why are you so heartless to me? His tone became slightly resentful. I saw your colleague take you home, and he only left this morning. I didn't feel like giving any unnecessary explanations. Move. Robert Roberts grabbed my wrist, and the key fell to the ground. He pinned me against the wall. The difference in physical strength was too great, and I couldn't break free. Sarah Miller, you're getting back together with your ex-boyfriend. So what about me? Am I just garbage in your eyes? Something you can just throw away? I was merciless, staring at him coldly. Yes, you are garbage. We've broken up. My business is none of yours. He looked at me angrily. What if I insist on interfering? I'm not someone you can just call on and dismiss. Let go of me, or I'll call the police. Robert Roberts pressed down on the hand I used to reach for my phone. Can you stop throwing a tantrum? My patience has limits too. Security guards ran out of the elevator and pulled Robert Roberts away. As soon as I saw Robert Roberts, I had messaged the building management, telling them someone was harassing residents. Robert Roberts started punching and kicking, but it was like tickling the 2 muscular security guards. The money roses scattered on the ground, blown by the autumn wind, looking like a red lake. The hospital held a free clinic event every 6 months. I didn't participate in the first half of the year, but it was my turn in the second half. David Chen was across from me, surrounded by a crowd of young women. The slightly older folks, the grandpas and grandmas, were lining up for the experienced doctors, so my side wasn't too busy. A woman wearing a mask stood in front of the table. I asked her if she felt unwell anywhere, but she didn't say anything, just stood there. I increasingly felt she looked familiar. By the time I realized, she grabbed my hair, pulled a fruit knife from her pocket, and forcefully stabbed towards me. What kind of spell did you cast on Rob? He forced me to get an abortion. It'll make you pay with your life. Chelsea Miller swung the knife with all her might. My forearm was cut, and blood instantly soaked my white coat. The colleagues nearby saw how frantic Chelsea Miller was and didn't dare pull her away, shouting for help. David Chen noticed the commotion, pushed through the crowd surrounding him, and ran over as fast as he could. David Chen immediately snatched the knife from Chelsea Miller's hand. Security also arrived and restrained Chelsea Miller. Chelsea Miller couldn't move and looked at me maliciously. Sarah Miller, don't think you've won. Rob married you because you look like Eleanor. Without that face, you're nothing. Eleanor was Robert Roberts' sister, who had passed away many years ago. The first time I went to Robert Roberts' house to meet his parents, his mother saw me, her eyes welled up, and she called out Ellie. By rights, Robert Roberts and Eleanor were siblings, so they should have looked the most alike. I didn't resemble Robert Roberts at all, so how could I look like his sister? My forearm and shoulder were both cut, blood kept flowing out, and a colleague quickly helped me stop the bleeding. David Chen brought over the banner from the entrance to block the onlookers. He was a surgeon who had been in the operating room many times. But seeing the nasty wound on me, his eyes turned red. Chelsea Miller was taken away by the police. David Chen took me back to the hospital to treat the wound. He didn't look at me the whole way, just drove fast. The colleague who treated my wound told me that Dr. David was crying outside. I think Dr. David really cares about you. Our whole department knows Kate and Jen love to gossip. If they talked about you, Dr. David would be furious and scared them into silence. After my wound was treated, David Chen took me home. He took a bag from the trunk. Let's go. What's this? Weather stripping. I quickly found out what he needed the weather stripping for. David Chen carefully sealed the gaps in my windows and patio door. No wonder I always felt cold at home. The windows and doors were drafty. I originally planned to just give you the stuff to do it yourself, but your hand is injured now. David Chen looked around and saw that half of the curtain rod had fallen down. I'll go borrow a ladder. Half an hour later, David Chen returned with a ladder on his shoulder and a bag of groceries in his hand. An hour later, he had fixed the curtain rod and made a table full of tempting dishes. Dusk settled in, warm yellow light streamed down, and the smell of food filled the living room. It was unusually warm and cozy. David Chen served me food but barely ate himself. Only when I was nearly finished did he speak. Sarah Miller, the truth is, I haven't gone a day without thinking of you, without loving you, all these years, but I hurt you so deeply that saying these words feels disgusting even to myself. David Chen and I were together for 5 years and never once argued, because he was too good, so good that even when I wanted to intentionally throw a tantrum, he would indulge and humor me. He remembered every single word I said and always followed through. If I casually complained that a certain book was difficult to study, a few days later I would receive detailed notes and analysis for that book. Jewelry I glanced at on the street would become little surprises gifted to me. If I said I wanted to learn how to ride a bicycle in the middle of the night, he wouldn't think I was crazy. He would just bring his bike downstairs and wait for me. He understood my every look and took care of all my feelings. After we started working, we weren't at the same hospital, but he would rather sacrifice rest and ride the last bus home just to see me more often. He worried I was too tired from work and couldn't handle it, so every weekend he would cook a large table of delicious food to help me recover. He loved me very sincerely. In the years after we broke up, I actually couldn't bring myself to hate him. When I thought of him, I remembered his good qualities more. Sometimes love is more agonizing than hate. Only by forcing myself to hate him could I stop feeling sad. Later, I started a new relationship, got married to someone else, and imagined a future with him. Little by little, I erased the traces of David Chen's existence in my life. When David Chen said he had always loved me, I didn't know how to face him. I'm sorry, I was too weak back then. After saying that, David Chen went to clean up the dishes. I followed him to the kitchen, wanting to ask exactly what had happened back then. But David Chen's phone rang again at an inconvenient time. That evening, figuring he should be out of surgery by now, I wanted to call him but realized I didn't have his contact info. The next morning, I was woken up by a bombardment of calls. It was from the person who hadn't contacted me since my mother passed away. My father, Mr. Miller. Just as the last call ended, there was urgent knocking at the door. Mr. Miller had found my place. The man with graying temples hypocritically grabbed my hand. He was so close, yet he didn't notice my hand was still bandaged. Sir, I heard you had a wedding ceremony, but you didn't legalize the marriage with my son-in-law, Robert. Young couples shouldn't hold grudges overnight. How about we arrange a dinner with Robert's parents today and formalize the marriage with both families present? I didn't even need to think about it. Mr. Miller was a messenger sent by Robert Roberts. You said it yourself. We didn't sign the papers, so he's not your son-in-law. At my mom's funeral, you said in front of everyone that if I didn't let that woman be my stepmother, you'd pretend you didn't have a daughter. What kind of elder are you? I opened the door. Get out. Mr. Miller had a bad temper. Not getting a pleasant reception from me, he started pointing at me and yelling, "You ungrateful daughter. The Roberts family is so wealthy, don't be unappreciative. If I hadn't made that poor kid, David, break up with you back then, would you have found a wealthy guy as good as Robert Roberts? You've gotten bold, relying on his affection for you to show a bad temper. You're marrying him. End of story." Mr. Miller dragged me outside. My wounds bled from the sudden movement. Let go of her. David Chen threw down what he was holding and ran over to stop Mr. Miller. If you don't stop, I'm calling the police. He held his phone tightly, anger spread in his eyes. Mr. Miller was a bully who backs down easily. Afraid David Chen would actually call the police. He let go of me. David Chen looked anxiously at my wound. I'll treat it for you. I didn't move. Explain yourself. Mr. Miller said he made you break up with me. Explain what that was all about. David Chen picked me up bridal carry. Let's treat the wound first. I'll tell you everything. My good father didn't just mess up his own marriage. He also interfered in his daughter's relationship. 6 months before David Chen and I broke up, he was assisting in a surgery where the patient died despite rescue efforts. It was David Chen who delivered the death notification to the family. The family didn't dare provoke the influential lead surgeon at the hospital, so they harassed David Chen instead. David Chen's procedures during the surgery were standard and flawless, but the patient's family used the media to confuse things and spread rumors, causing David Chen a lot of trouble. They even targeted me, putting up protest signs outside my mother's hospital room, claiming the university professor's daughter's boyfriend was a murderer. That group was taken away by the police for education, but the matter wasn't over. One afternoon, that patient's father waited for me downstairs from my place with a bottle of sulfuric acid. I managed to avoid him in time, preventing him from succeeding. Ultimately, the patient's father was sentenced to prison. I didn't resent David Chen because of this incident. It was all unwarranted disaster. But Mr. Miller went to David Chen and forced him to break up with me. The patient's father threatened to ruin my family after getting out of prison. The patient's mother and other relatives were waiting for me at the hospital entrance every day. I didn't know when this situation would end. I was afraid they would hurt you. They could ruin my career, but they absolutely couldn't ruin you. Those people harassed David Chen mostly because they wanted money. When they didn't get the money, they got tired after causing trouble for a few months and stopped bothering David Chen. As for that patient's father, he got into a car accident the day he was released from prison and couldn't be saved. David Chen gently blew on it while picking away the gauze stuck to the wound. After things settled down, I wanted to find you, but I couldn't. The next time I heard about you, you were already with someone else. I was too late. Whether it was because the wound hurt too much or the memories were too painful, I couldn't help but sob. Why were you so foolish? I never felt you were a burden. You came to my wedding and became my colleague. Why didn't you tell me these things sooner? David Chen wiped the tears from my cheeks. I admit I was selfish. I wanted to see how beautiful Sarah Miller looked in a wedding dress. Even if the person standing beside you wasn't me, becoming colleagues was a coincidence. I only found out you worked there on my first day. These words sound like I'm trying to gain sympathy, but right now, I want to be selfish for once. I want to stay by your side. During the 2 months I was recovering from injury, Mr. and Mrs. Roberts visited me once. Sir, blame your Uncle John and me for being slow to realize Robert Roberts had done so many wrong things. Mrs. Roberts was a kind woman and spoke very gently. From her, I learned that Robert Roberts was not their biological son but adopted. Robert Roberts knew this and had always resented it, fearing Mr. and Mrs. Roberts would mind the lack of biological connection and wouldn't leave the family fortune to him. I looked very much like their deceased daughter, Eleanor. The first time Robert Roberts saw me, he had ill intentions. He thought if he married me, Mr. and Mrs. Roberts, missing their daughter dearly, would surely cherish me like their own daughter. Then he would have a better chance of getting the family fortune. As Robert Roberts expected, Mr. and Mrs. Roberts liked me very much the moment they saw me. That's why Robert Roberts pursued me relentlessly and insisted we sign the papers. He came home drunk, questioned if we considered him our real son, crying and laughing, and said these things. A wave of nausea surged in my stomach. This relationship with Robert Roberts was a joke. Love at first sight? It was nothing but him approaching me with a purpose. He had been pretending for so long, doing such a good job of it. I was almost completely fooled by him. Mrs. Roberts didn't ask me to return the generous gift or the other presents she had given me, Sir. Ultimately, it's the Roberts family who owes you. Keep the things. Since Mrs. Roberts said this, she wouldn't accept me returning the gifts. I planned to hire someone to send them back to the Roberts family another day. After Mr. and Mrs. Roberts left, I tiddied up and got ready to go out. I had agreed to go out for dinner with David Chen. My right hand was injured, making many things difficult. When David Chen had free time, he would turn into like a fairy helper, coming to my place to cook and clean. The condition he proposed for repaying the favor was for me to treat him to dinner. I walked to the window to see if David Chen's car was there, in the snowy lot downstairs. He had drawn a giant heart. David Chen stood in the center of the heart and made a heart shape with his hands. I called him Goofball. He was slightly out of breath and said with a smile, "Sarah Miller, it's starting to snow." It took over a year for my hand to recover before I could operate again. The first patient I operated on was Robert Roberts. This surgery was supposed to be done by Dr. Anderson. But Dr. Anderson was temporarily unwell, and it was changed to me. The surgery was successful. Anesthesia hadn't worn off yet, and Robert Roberts was muttering my name indistinctly. The nurse assigned to his care told me that after waking up, Robert Roberts always liked to talk to her. He talked about his love story, said he realized later how much he loved that woman, and how much he regretted not cherishing her properly. As he talked, tears started streaming down. How pitiful. He doesn't know why the person he likes doesn't like him. The nurse didn't know my relationship with Robert Roberts. His purpose was to make me hear his regret from the nurse. I no longer cared. He saved me once, and I saved him once. I didn't owe him anything anymore. A few months later, I heard about Robert Roberts again from the same nurse. The nurse said he hadn't followed the doctor's orders regarding medication. His illness recurred, and he had another surgery, but it didn't work well. His remaining life would be spent in continuous surgeries and relapses. He had the money to get treatment in places with the best medical facilities, but at this stage, that kind of illness is incurable. His body was like a machine. Repeated repairs couldn't bring it back to how it was before. It would only get worse. The name Robert only existed in rumors. I never saw him again. Once, I ran into Mrs. Roberts at the supermarket. She was with the housekeeper, buying a lot of nourishing ingredients. When checking out, she took a call. After hanging up, her face turned pale. She held onto the checkout counter, almost collapsed onto the floor. I had somewhere else to be, so I just helped the housekeeper take her to the parking garage and left. David Chen and I had been back together for a while. Not long ago, I was promoted to a new position, success in love and career. Last winter, David Chen drew a big heart downstairs. This year, I stood in the center of the heart, facing him as he knelt on one knee. I said those 3 words, "I do."